Hello, Algebra 1 students. Mr. Cockburner coming back at you for the 2019 spring released questions. This is question 7. The value of several terms in a sequence are shown in the table. So we have a table, we have our terms and our values, so our input and our output. All right, the first term, f of 1 equals what? So unfortunately, they didn't give me my first term. They gave me the second one, the fourth, and the seventh. So these kind of stink too because they're not in any type of order. So do I have good news for you? What Mr. Chaplin and I have taught you is the power of Desmos. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to put this into Desmos. So here's a table. Do you all remember how to put a table into Desmos? Pretty simple. Let's go right here. Add item, go to table. They said the second, we got 5. So the second term would be 2, and then our answer would be 5. There's that point. We have the point 4 and the point 12. There's that point. You can see it right there. And then this one you're not going to be able to see because it's going to go up to 22.5. And our graph here, it looks like it only goes up just shy of 12. So we won't be able to see this one plotted. However, we can if we wanted to zoom out and mess around with Desmos a little bit, which why not? We have time. So there it is. Okay. So here's the deal. What we are looking for is probably a line, right? These look like they're pretty straight. So we want a linear function here. If you recall, what we taught you was linear regression. So it's pretty quick, but you're going to have to memorize it. That's the only thing that stinks for this test, okay? So it's Y1, squiggle, okay? It's shift and the button next to 1. Remember, it's that squiggle. AX1, you could also call it MX because MX plus B, right? Plus, and I just said it, B. So now, if you recall, we have these correlation coefficients right here. This is 1. That means it's perfect. It is exactly what we want. You can see here it goes through each point directly through the center. So we have our equation here. That's the nice thing about this linear regression is it takes all this information from this table. You can see how it's labeled X1. That's why it's X1 right here. You can see how this is labeled Y1. That's why it's going to be set equal to the Y1 value, our output. Okay. And again, we know this is a perfect correlation because we have that number 1 right here. And then we have A equals 3.5. And then our B is -2. So in other words, what we're going to have here is Y equals MX plus B, right? And instead of an M, we just use the first term as A, but they told us what A is. It's 3.5. So we get Y equals 3.5 times X, and then our B value is -2. And for this problem, now that I'm done with Desmos, right, I can now calculate what the input of 1 would be. So it's Y equals 3.5 times 1 minus 2. And that is going to get me my output. So, hey, why do the math on paper if we can just do it in Desmos? So ready? I'm going to, underneath here, just type in 3.5 parenthesis 1, because that was what I'm looking for, right? The function at 1, and here's my function, 3.5x minus 2 from our linear regression, minus 2. And my output would be 1.5. All right, and we could actually look at that. If we did input 1, here's the value of 1. Oh, I zoomed in. Here's 1. So if I click on here, I can even see that as my value if I just slid along that linear regression that we did. 1, your output's 1.5, just like we have here. Here's our 1 for our x value and our 1.5. So there's a couple ways to do it. You could actually type it into the function, or you can trace along that linear regression to get our 1.5. Any questions? I hope that tool is very useful. Again, the only negative is they don't give us this linear regression. We're going to have to memorize that sucker right there. Y1 squiggle A times X1 plus B. All right. Hopefully this helps. This is super, super friendly when it comes to Desmos.